Hello and welcome back to the Squirrel Heed YouTube channel. Apologies for not getting this out sooner. Had a hell of a busy weekend and stuff like that. It was my birthday. Got out celebrating that, not in any, massive style or anything like that. Just had a very busy weekend with the family and stuff like that. So, apologies for not getting the videos out on time as I should have. So I'm going to combine the Liverpool review video along with the rest of the Premier League in this one as well. So we will get there. It's probably coming out today, which is Wednesday. This is Wednesday morning, quite early on. And I'm going to be kickstarting a lot of videos today as well. One update I want to give you for those that are keeping track and watching the Ultimate Team series that I'm doing called the Youth Academy is it will now be coming out twice a week as often as possible because I'm starting to think it's going to take a long time if I'm doing it at the current rate that I've got it going at. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it twice a week. Should be coming out now on a Tuesday and a Friday. So look out for that one. I'm going to do the first one for this Friday coming, and then it'll be for Tuesday and Friday forevermore, as much as I can do. Anyway, let's crack on with the Premier League results. And we had some, well, for ourselves, we had some different ones, but let's run through the list that we've got here. And Manchester United versus Arsenal. It's one of those, really. Watching the game, Man United seemed to have a lot of control. Arsenal were very, 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 very lucky to have gotten basically they got the run on. It was Oxlade-Chamberlain got the run on Rashford, and Rashford just didn't track the run properly. Couldn't track Oxlade-Chamberlain properly, and he whips in his cross. Giroud's come on as a substitute, heads it in 1-1, and Man United, for all their work that they did, they had, I think from what I can tell, they had good control of the game. I was watching the game. They had good control of the game. Arsenal were not really in the game at all very much, weren't threatening a great deal. Man United threw it away, and it was a 1-1. Probably a disappointing result, really, to come so late on as well. I think it was the 89th minute, a classic Giroud header. And it was an unfortunate result for them, really, when actually I think Man United could have, where they are in the table right now, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have a look at that at the end of the video. But they probably could have done with it. It digs Arsenal a little bit out of the shit as well, because Arsenal did not perform very well whatsoever. They didn't perform very well, but they've still managed to turn what would have been a loss into a draw, which is important from an Arsenal point of view as well. So on the run of things, probably a deserved result in the end, because Man United just didn't close out the game. They didn't kill the game as they possibly could have. But Arsenal, they get a draw. Man United drop 2 points, Arsenal gain 1. So, I mean, it's a positive and a negative for both Arsenal and Manchester United. We move straight on to Southampton versus Liverpool. We had so many chances in this game. It was unbelievable. We had far too many chances in this game to not actually win it. It was unreal. Southampton had their chances as well, and we had a good defensive display. I think Matip, for most people, got man of the match for this one. But I did say, and I can't remember if I said in the preview that I'd just done or whatever, I can't exactly remember what I did say, but there are going to be times when this happens with Liverpool where we're not going to be able to blast teams away and stuff like that. We're not going to necessarily be able to score in every single game. Alan Shearer had come out and said on Match of the Day a few weeks ago, saying if your forwards aren't having a very good day, or it's just not happening for them, you're going to have to make sure that your defence does a good job for you as well to keep out their threats. And they did have a lot of threats. Charlie Austin headed wide, not so like in the first half, and that was pretty, yeah. Well, that was quite concerning actually, because it's one of those. Charlie Austin's very, very good at doing that type of stuff, I should say. He's very good at doing that type of stuff where he'll just pop up with a header or a nice chance or something like that, and it goes in and it ends up they get a nice goal. It was good that that didn't happen. Unfortunate that we didn't take our chances at the other end of the pitch. You know, there's talk that did Klopp take too long to make some substitutions and make some changes? Possibly. Absolutely right. Maybe he saw something out there that maybe their work rate of the players, because they were working hard and they were creating chances, that something was going to happen and something was going to click, and he didn't want to change it. But look, it's one of those. We've got a draw. We haven't lost the game. We have dropped down to second in the league in this week, and that's what I've also said as well. You know, there is no room for mistakes when the top four is this close. There's no room whatsoever for mistakes or for dropping points here or there. You have to be consistent. We have been consistent of late. We've still only lost once this season, which is great, but we need to make sure that we kick on in our next game anyway. So it's not the most negative result it could have been, but it's, you know, after the amount of chances that we had, it's a little bit frustrating that we weren't able to at least get a 1-0 or something like that. But credit to Southampton. They put on a very good display as well defensively. We just didn't take our chances. Forster pulled out some brilliant saves. I can't really argue with the result. It was deserved both ways, really, to have a draw. Maybe a little bit more on our side to have maybe had the win, but I can leave it. We move on to this weekend, and I'll do a preview for that one as well. So we move on to there. Manchester City visit Crystal Palace, pull out a 2-1 victory. Yaya Toure, wow. Yaya Toure, if you're ever exiled from your own team and you're wanting to prove that you belong in that team, that is the performance that you put in. 2 goals by Yaya Toure, pulls them out. I think obviously it goes 1-1 at one point, and Manchester City, Yaya Toure steps up. I am the man. I am the man in this game, and I'm going to prove myself that I should have been in this team all along. Brilliant performance. Good performance on the whole, really, but very, very good performance by Yaya Toure, who now makes their midfield even more competitive and even much more quality in there as well. So you can't argue with that. Unfortunate one for Crystal Palace. I don't know what their streak is right now, like their win-loss ratio. They've got to be a bit concerned. In their last 5 Premier League games, they've lost 5 of them. They drew the one before that. So in the 6 games, they haven't won any. So they've got to be looking a bit concerned now about where this team's going, what's actually happening with it. Because the quality that they do bring in, you bring in someone like Benteke for 32 million, you've got to start wondering where these results are going to come from. And they have been scoring in most of these losses as well. But they've got to be a bit concerned as well. Manchester City able to dig out a win. They'll be very happy with that moving forward, and it keeps them up the top. I think they're actually level on points with Liverpool now, so it keeps them well in the race for the title this season. Everton versus Swansea ended as a 1-1. Not the best result for either team. Everton and Swansea both could really do with the win. Swansea most likely more especially because of how they've been doing since they got took over by Bob Bradley. I think the fans with Swansea are not very happy whatsoever with that change at the moment. Everton, on the other hand, getting a 1-1. It's not the most negative result for Everton, but at the end of the day, they would be more likely. Obviously, anybody wants to win. That's the most redundant statement I could ever make. But they would have been wanting to, start climbing up the table a little bit more. Are they going to go for Europa League places? Could they make a push for top 4? I think top 4 is tight as hell now for anybody else who's not already in it to try and make a run at the top 4. But top 6, definitely. Are they going to get there? I'm not entirely sure. Look, it's one of those. For both teams, they both needed the result for different reasons. Swansea, so that they're not going to get too dragged down into the relegation battle. Everton, on the other hand, are wanting to prove themselves and get more up the table. Ronald Koeman will be wanting them to be in Europa League competition at least, and then he can push forward with improvements in the team and stuff like that as well. But, they've just got to see now. They've just got to wait and see. Well, not wait and see, but for the next match to come up, put in better performances and stuff like that, especially the forwards and things like that as well, because they need to be, as I've said, when Lukaku came out and said that he needs to be creating his own chances a lot more, yeah, you really actually do. To be considered one of the very, very top strikers in the world, you've got to create your own chances, and if you're not, and then the rest of your team isn't performing as well to be able to give you those chances, it's going to be you're going to have a lot of off days more than you have on days. Stoke versus Bournemouth, and Bournemouth pull out a 1-0 victory. I really didn't see that one coming. I thought Stoke would have far too much quality in their team over Bournemouth. And that's no disrespect to Bournemouth. If you look at it on paper and you look at the results that both teams have had recently, I was leaning Stoke's way because I just thought, yeah, they would have more quality. They'd be able to finish a lot more chances, a lot more people up front that they would be able to use. I just thought that Bournemouth would struggle, but they picked out a 1-0 victory. Very, very good 1-0 victory as well. Stoke will be disappointed. More likely to be a blip than anything else because of how they performed of late. I don't think it's going to be like a slide to how they started the season this year. But, one of those. I think Stoke will obviously move on. Bournemouth will be absolutely loving life at the moment. I think they're putting in some very good performances across the board. You can't be really disappointed as a Bournemouth fan. Eddie Howe, what a manager. Though he doesn't have the name quality, if you know what I mean. He doesn't have the name quality in his team, so he doesn't have obviously a big top name striker and stuff like that. But the work rate he's got going through that team and the creativity and the hard work that they're all doing for each other obviously shows, puts in performances like this. Very, very good performance for Bournemouth. Sunderland pulled out the friggin' shock win of the weekend for me, though. Sunderland, yes, they got someone sent off, but friggin' hell. I mean, I know Hull aren't the best of teams, but I did have Hull being a better team than Sunderland. But Sunderland are now off the bottom of the table, and they won 3-0. And I think Anichebe scored 2. Honest to God, I did not see this result coming. And it actually looks like now that Sunderland may have their act together a little bit, or quite a bit. I think Liverpool visit Sunderland pretty soon, if not this weekend coming up. And they're starting to put performances in. Yes, it's, again, Hull, not the biggest opposition they could come up against. But these are results that they needed. They really, really needed. Normally Sunderland only kick in their season in about January, February, when they really, really actually decide they want to stay in the Premier League. And now they're doing it right now. Is this going to be the impact of David Moyes? He's a brand new manager at the club. He's only been there since the summer. So is he now going to get the chance now that he's worked with the team a lot more? Are they now taking to his ideas? Are they working with, him and Anichebe have a very good relationship clearly, and the team seem to be performing a little bit better as well, even when the lights go out at the Stadium of Light, ironically. But look, it's one of those. Sunderland really needed that result. They need results like this week in, week out. And I'm not saying they're going to need to get 3-0 week in, week out, but they're going to need to win. And when they win like that, I think they won last before the international break as well. If they keep performing like this, yes, they won't. They will. They'll probably still be in a relegation battle, but I don't think that they'll be staying in it very, very long. Especially with the slide of the likes of Hull, Crystal Palace around them and stuff like that, Swansea as well. Anything can happen right now, and they are looking a lot. I still have Sunderland to go down in my books, but that's moving forward. If they keep performing like this, that'll have to change, I'm afraid. So, yeah, very good result for Sunderland. What wasn't a very good result, though, was the result for Leicester, which leaves them 2 points. Fucking hell. Leaves them 2 points above the 18th place team, 4 points above the 19th place team. What? How? Then let's just consider last night, Leicester have just qualified for the round of 16 in the Champions League, and then they're a couple of points above the relegation zone. I'm not entirely sure that's ever happened. The closest thing I can think of was with Roberto Martinez with Wigan when he got relegated and won the Capital One Cup. I think that was the only time, and they were in the Championship in the Europa League, which was, that was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Leicester are doing it in the Champions League. They've topped their group, and I think they're going to be on course. They've topped their group with a game to go, I think is what I'm hearing. I think that's right. Yeah, they've topped the game because, obviously, Tottenham have been knocked out with a game to go. So, yeah, we can't really say anything. Our Champions League run a couple of years ago was pretty damn awful. So, yeah. Anyway, Watford pick up a very good result, and I did say that Watford have got a pretty potent front line. But Leicester just, I don't know what it is in the Premier League. Yes, people can say, oh, they've been figured out and all this lot. And I think actually a lot of it comes down to the fact that they can't defend how they used to. So they've come into this season defending how they did last season, and they're getting pulled left, right and centre for it. And they can't do it anymore. A lot of it also comes down to the fact that Riyad Mahrez and Jamie Vardy, the star players of last season for both them and in the Premier League in general, are not cutting it right now. They are not cutting it. And that might sound harsh to some because it's like, oh, they were so good last year. I was like, if you look at anything, you are only as good as your last performance. That is it. It doesn't matter what you did last year. It doesn't matter what your team has done in history. You're only as good as your last performance. And at the moment, Leicester are dire. They are absolutely dire. They'll pick out results, and this is probably, it's weird. If you take out last season, where they obviously won the title and they had that great, unbelievable run. If you take out last season and you put it to the season before where they just survived relegation and to this season now, you probably wouldn't bat an eyelid really and just be like, nah, it's Leicester, they'll probably just be, relegation battle, stuff like that. But when you put in last year, obviously, and the Premier League title win of all wins to be fair, one unbelievable story. And then you come to this season, and it just actually looks like they haven't reinforced their team properly for this season. They brought in some, good prospects. Musa, good prospect. Slimani, he seems to be doing very well in the Champions League. Can pop up now and again in the Premier League. Not doing enough. They lost Kante in the summer to Chelsea, and you see the job he's doing at Chelsea now. Unbelievable stuff. They didn't bring in an adequate replacement for him, and he ran that midfield unbelievably well. They just haven't. It just looks like to me that this summer, as Premier League champions, that they could have actually gone out and got a lot more reinforcements to actually go ahead with the Champions League performances that they were going to have to put in this year, along with the Premier League ones, and the weight of being a champion that probably puts on you as well. I wouldn't know. We're a Liverpool fan. We haven't been champions for donkey's years, but the pressure that puts on your team can only be immense, and you're not able to put out the same 11s for both competitions. You can't. There's no way you could put in the same 11 that you put in the Champions League. You could not then play that in the Premier League, and you can't do that week in, week out, because you've got all the domestic cups as well. It's not a good time for Leicester. They're either going to have to pick up in the Premier League so they don't become the first ones in the Premier League to maybe get relegated and go far in the Champions League. Wigan all over again. I'm talking about Leicester a lot. Watford put in a really good performance. They got a very good result, 2-1. Watford are doing pretty well this season. Take out their beating that they got from Liverpool a couple of weeks ago. They are doing very well. They've got some very good attacking players, and they've beaten the champions. But at the moment, it's not a very good. It's not like when we beat Leicester 4-1 at the time, and it's like, wow, this is a really good result. Now that Leicester have slid quite away, it's not that much of a scalp anymore, but very, very good result for Watford. Another result that didn't go the way I thought it was going to, only because of where it was in the time of day and the time of the match that all this sort of happened. West Ham are 2-1 up, right? West Ham 2-1 up, and you're thinking, wow, unbelievable. I can't believe that West Ham are winning against Tottenham. Within minutes, Harry Kane turns it to 3-2. West Ham fans had left, and you see some West Ham fans on Twitter and stuff like that had been turning around just going, well, I'm going to nip off now because it's late enough, and there's no way we're going to lose this one, essentially. And then it's 3-2. Harry Kane pops up, unbelievable. Tottenham get a very, very, very vital win. Unbelievable. Harry Kane proves his worth over and over again, and look, it's just one of those. I could not believe that Tottenham managed to get a 3-2 victory there. I really, really couldn't. And it's a very, very important one for them, because now maybe that can catapult them a little bit upwards towards the tape, upwards to the top four, challenging for those places as well, a lot more. And it's a dire result. Whoa, gone far too far there. It's a dire result for West Ham, because West Ham are obviously looking at it thinking, they could have got a good vital result for them, and it would have pushed them further up the table and less towards relegation battle and stuff like that as well. You cannot go into like 85 plus minutes, 2-1 up, and lose 3-2. You can't do it. You just cannot do it. If you've worked that hard to get 2-1 up against a team like Tottenham, who have notoriously got a hard defence to break down, you can't then let it slip and then lose 3-2. You just can't, especially away from home as well, where West Ham seem to have better fan atmospheres and stuff like that when they're away from home as well. It's one of those for West Ham. They've really got to pick up their ideas, especially when you've got the likes of Dimitri Payet, who hasn't actually ruled out, possibly leaving in January or being open to interest in January. That's not what you want to hear as a West Ham fan, as your star player. He's literally the star player of that team. Unbelievable. That was an unbelievable result. The Chelsea result I saw coming. After we had drawn on the Saturday, I knew that Chelsea would go on and win somehow. And they won. It was 1-0 against some tough opposition in Middlesbrough. And they did. They got a well-deserved victory. They still haven't conceded in this 3-4-3 formation. Since they switched to it in the Premier League, they still haven't conceded. It's an absolutely unbelievable unbelievable record that they've got going on with that defence. It's ridiculous. And Middlesbrough had chances as well. They just didn't take them. Chelsea got the victory and put themselves top of the table, and they deservedly are top of the table right now. When you're that solid at the back, and you're scoring goals, you deserve to be up there, you know. And while I think we're only maybe a point or two behind them, Chelsea do look unstoppable at the moment, which is quite concerning. But it's one of those. There's a long season left to go. Very good victory for Chelsea, who look solid as a rock. Antonio Conte has done some unbelievable things with that team, with mostly a lot of the players that were there when Jose Mourinho was there, and Guus Hiddink as well when he came in to steady the ship, shall we say. And he's done some very, very good things. Such a very good tactical manager. So passionate about his team as well when they're performing. I love managers, obviously, with Jurgen Klopp. I love managers that are very, very animated, involved on the touchline and stuff like that. I think it's absolutely wonderful. He's doing a great job. I can't take anything away from Chelsea. They're top of the league now, and they deserve to be there. And then on Monday, West Brom smashed Burnley 4-0. And people were online, I know, like there was like the Football Republic and stuff were tweeting out, "Oh, I'm absolutely buzzing for this game," with like really sarcastic faces because it's West Brom versus Burnley. And within the first 5 minutes, it's 1-0. Within the first half, it's 3-0, and it ends 4-0. Burnley, I was watching the first half of that game, and I'm looking at that defence, and it looked like the defence had just shown up after one hell of a weekend out on the lash, and they didn't seem to know what they were doing. Goalkeeper Tom Heaton is trying his best to do stuff. The defence just looked awful. Defence looked absolutely diabolical. And Burnley, I've been one of those that's like they've been fighting for all their results in recent weeks. That draw they got against Man United and one of the wins that they picked up, can't remember who it was against, but it was one of those last minute goals. They fought for everything that they got, and it just went out the window against West Brom. West Brom were very, very good, pretty damn clinical for a West Brom team. I think it actually equals their highest scoring win that they've ever had, especially under Tony Pulis. But what an unbelievable result that was. And it was a very, very entertaining game to watch from West Brom and a neutral point of view as well. Burnley, I would say it's a blip, because they performed nowhere near like how they would usually perform, especially at the back. It was very, as I said, it was awful. It was a very, very awful performance from the back. Very, very good performance by West Brom. Completely the opposite by Burnley. And I can't wait for next weekend, this weekend coming up, Premier League matches again. I will be getting previews out. Very good. It was an entertaining weekend in the Premier League. Not the best result for us as Liverpool fans, but we move on. We will kick on, and we will get ahead to the Premier League this weekend. If you've enjoyed this video, apologies again for it being late. I'm hoping that I'll be able to keep on track this week, and I'll try my very best to do so. But if you've liked the video, please drop a like on the video. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share it around if you're liking it. That would be very, very helpful as well. Thank you ever so much for watching and sticking with me during any of my times when I'm a little bit not on schedule. Thank you ever so much for that, and I'll catch you later.